Media Network proudly presents a weekly exploration of various spiritual practices with renowned spiritual authors, coaches, teachers, and Dr. Tracy Brown, RScP.
And now, here's Tracy.
Hey everybody, Tracy Brown, and you are right here with me on Poetry, Prayer, and Practice, where every week we slow down just enough to take a few minutes and think about all of our spiritual practices, why we do them, and what makes them work for us. And we look sometimes to poetry for inspiration and also just as a spiritual practice. And of course, we dive into prayer. I hope that you are ready today to do a little contemplation and reflection around this Donald Curtis quote. Life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. Life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. I love that. I love that because so often what happens is we think that struggle is a requirement, right? That struggle is a requirement. Pain is a requirement. How many times have you said or heard other people say, well, pain is just part of the process, or without struggle, you don't have any growth. That we assume that things that happen that may be difficult or challenging, things that happen that maybe we didn't plan or we would not have chosen, that they're almost like a punishment. So some of you have heard me say before, right? It's like, this is not punishment. What you're going through is not a punishment. It is a preparation. And even when I say that, I'm not really thinking that everything that happens that is uncomfortable or undesired is like designed, because I don't believe that everything that happens is designed to be a lesson. But I do believe that everything that happens in our lives gives us the opportunity to choose what we will take from it. Everything that happens gives us the opportunity to choose how we will use that. And a lot of times what that is we learn something from it that we either don't want to repeat, or we learn something about ourselves that then we take into the rest of our lives, or we learn something about the people we're hanging out with that allows us to go, yeah, I don't want to spend so much time with that person anymore. But I don't think the purpose of it happening is to teach us a lesson. We have options, right? We can be in the very same situation and choose that in the future we'll put ourselves right back in that situation. Or we can choose to perceive that situation as we deserved it, right? So I think we're always a choice. The situation in itself does not come with the purpose of teaching us a lesson. But I digress. So the quote, life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. Now, I'm just curious in this moment. Definition of proposition.
Here's the definition of proposition: a statement or assertion that expresses a judgment or opinion.
That's interesting. A statement or an assertion that expresses a judgment or an opinion. That is not my first definition of proposition. And the example given is the proposition that all men are created equal. So that's interesting. Now, the second definition is the one that I think of first. And the second definition is a proposition is a suggested program or plan of action, especially in a business context. And it's used in a sentence, or used as given an example of a proposition is a detailed investment proposition, right? It's a proposal. It's a suggested program. And so if I think about my day, life is a daily proposition. Life is a daily program or plan that has some suggested ways for it to go, but I still get to accept or reject the proposition. I get to navigate the proposition, what has been delivered or what is being suggested, what is being put in my path. And then the third definition, to proposition, when proposition is used as a verb, it's to make a suggestion of sex to someone with whom one is not sexually involved, especially in an unsubtle or offensive way. Quote, she had been propositioned at the party by an accountant. And even though I hadn't thought about it specifically related to undesired sexual innuendo, life is a daily proposition, right? A suggestion of being engaged in a certain way. So we're going to mostly think about that second or middle definition, a suggested program or plan of action. And I'm going to read the quote one more time. Life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. It does not have to be a struggle. It's a proposition, it's an offering, it is a structure, and it does not have to be a struggle. Even when things happen or people do or say things that are challenging, the day does not have to be a struggle. Now, this actually, life is a daily proposition. The beginning of the quote, the first part of the quote, is the final chapter in the Donald Curtis book, Your Thoughts Can Change Your Life, which I have been rereading over the last 3 weeks. And so chapter 14 is the last chapter, and the title is Life as a Daily Proposition. First paragraph. Life is exactly what we make it. It is up to us. Our attitudes toward our days and toward our lives as a whole determine the results which we achieve. Take a breath. Take it in. I'm going to read it again. First paragraph, chapter 14, Life is a Daily Proposition. Life is exactly what we make it. It is up to us. Our attitudes toward our days and toward our lives as a whole determine the results which we achieve. This is what we teach in all of the metaphysics, in all of New Thought. It's not that we control everything that happens to us. What we control is our attitude about our day, our attitude about our lives overall. What we control is, or really what we're responsible for, is the thinking and the choices we make about how we label and judge whatever is going on. So it could be something as small as monitoring your self talk and how you think about yourself. Last week, some of you know, I took a little tumble. I had a fall that left me with some swelling and a fair amount of pain. And if my general attitude about life was that life, something's always going to go wrong, right? Things can be going great, but something's going to go wrong. Or I'm clumsy, or I'm really, I'm always doing silly things, right? If I had a general attitude about myself that was a perception that seemed to contribute to the fall, or if I believed that the world in general or my life in general there was always something going wrong or about to go wrong, then that fall would have been a very different experience for me, right? We all do this at some point in our lives, right? Where we notice when things happen and we blame ourselves, or we criticize ourselves, or we blame the world for all the bad things that are happening in our lives, because our mindset is that. And so it's almost like those are the eyeglasses I have on that I am viewing the world through. I am seeing the world through that lens. And this thing that happened, this fall that happened, is like affirming the belief I have. For me, I don't believe in those things. I don't. And so I believe that I live in a friendly universe. I believe that everything that happens in my life is happening for me, not to me. I believe even though I felt and I could feel the pain in my shoulder, I could feel the pain in my head. I hit my head. I could feel the soreness on my face. I could feel the swelling, but there was never a point where I thought, well, of course this would happen. You're so clumsy. Or I never even once thought, well, of course this is going to happen to you because you've been having a really great week and something bad had to happen. Like none of that ever crossed my mind. And I'm not bragging about that. I'm just using that as an example of how we train our minds over and over, what we do in our spiritual practice that affirms the good happening. I wasn't immediately saying, oh, something good's going to happen from this. No, not immediately, because I was in pain. I had to check to make sure I hadn't broken anything. And then I, had to go get in my house, and like I was kind of dazed, like, really? What just happened? And I was focusing on, what do you do when you fall? Like, oh, and it feels like it's swelling up. What do you do? Oh, ice. So I was in the practical action point, right? Have you ever been there? Something happens and you immediately go into action. It could be a car accident. It could be something happened to your child and you're immediately focused on what are the practical, physical next steps I need to take. But when I reflected on it, I was like, oh, I really never went into victim mode. And I could easily go into victim mode at a different stage of my life. But what I realized is this is the outpicturing of constant spiritual practice, affirming the good. It is the demonstration of prayer for years that constantly affirms that the universe has my back and that good things are happening. And so I think that's one reason why it just seems to me that in picking that chapter title and then the full quote, life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't need to be a struggle, or it doesn't have to be a struggle. When Donald Curtis wrote that, I think he captured something that all of us can remember. All of us can remember. Another quote in this chapter that I really, really love is this one. And I think I'm going to make this, like put this on the mirror in my bathroom so that I can train myself to say it every morning when I'm getting dressed. Here's the quote. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. Yes, you could say it with me. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. One more time. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. That's a great affirmation. It's a fabulous prayer. Really? I mean, think about it. If that were my prayer today, I don't know what is ahead for me today, but it can only be good. I am making that claim upon the universe. I am calling it good and very good. Whatever is happening today, it can only be good. And so I'm going to be using this for a while. It might replace in the short term what many of you know is one of my favorite quotes and sayings that I use all the time. Everything is good or it's leading to good. But for a while, I'm going to be probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to be cementing in my own thought. I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it can only be good. I fell. How is that good? I know it can only be good, right? I fell. I can tell you a dozen things without even thinking about what was good about the fall. The fall itself wasn't good, but I'm so grateful I was not knocked unconscious. Like I didn't knock myself out when I fell. I'm so grateful that I was able to get up, that I didn't fall and I couldn't get up. I could get up. I'm so grateful that there was no bone in my body broken. I didn't break my ankle. I didn't break my hand. I didn't cut open my head. I didn't break anything. I'm so grateful that I have had enough injuries and had enough first aid training that I knew to apply ice to minimize the swelling, right? And so literally in less than 5 minutes after the fall, I'm pulling out ice packs and putting them on the places that are hurting. Right there, I could literally just keep going with. This is good. It's good that I knew how to do that. It's good that nothing was broken. It's good. The fall happened, but if I get stuck in the fall was so bad, it was so traumatic, it was what? We're always a choice at how we spend or invest our energy. Yes, I want to invest my energy in what reflects my beliefs. I want to invest my energy in what is bringing me toward love and hope and joy and beauty and peace, order, abundance. Anytime I can consciously choose how to invest my mental and emotional and physical energy, then I'm going to remember that Donald Curtis said every day, life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. No matter how afraid I am, no matter how unfair things seem, no matter how confused I am, no matter how angry I am, no matter how jealous I am, no matter what, my life does not have to be a struggle. I am a choice every moment, every waking moment at least. So, what this reminds me of is when we think something bad has happened, or we think we've done something bad because we didn't get the results we wanted, or we just disappointed ourselves and we start beating up on ourselves like, oh, that was such a big mistake. Oh, I don't think I'll ever be able to recover from that mistake. Oh, look at the condition of our society. As a humanity, we have made such a big mistake in who we elected or who we didn't elect, in how we recycle or how we don't recycle, right? But Ernest Holmes writes on page 290 that in the mental work, we have to be really clear, and that it is our clarity about what we believe that is what brings us demonstrations that are in alignment with our beliefs. And if we get caught up in, wow, that was so bad, that was a mistake, oh my, especially if it's something we did, oh, I shouldn't have done that, oh, I hope I know, I promised myself I'll never do that again. We're still back there, and we are pretending that spirit is always repeating what we did 5 minutes ago or what we did 5 years ago. And not on page 290, but elsewhere, that phrase that so many of us have memorized: principle is not bound by precedent. Wait a minute. Principle, spirit, God, the universe is not bound by, limited by precedent. What happened before, what you thought before, what you knew before. Because it is infinite. It is the unlimited love. It is the infinite intelligence, ising, breathing, being. Oh my goodness. Well, if I really believe that, And I really believe that no matter what happens, the source of all life that has created all life knows how to rearrange life in order to move in the direction that I direct it. So on page 290, when Ernest Holmes is reminding us that our job is to imagine, define, and declare perfect action, then in order to do that, we have to understand and believe there are no mistakes. What, Tracy? No mistakes? No, like it happened. Okay, it happened. It's like if you add 8 plus 4 and you write down, if it's 8 plus 4 and you write down 13, and then you go, oh, wait, that's not right. 8 plus 4 equals 12. On the human realm, we would say, oh, you made a mistake. You wrote 13 at first, and then you immediately corrected it to 12. Principle, spirit, God, no teacher ever is going to say, you wrote 13 and now you are wrong, and you will be wrong for the rest of your life. Not only when you add 8 plus 4, but in everything you do. You are just wrong because you are someone who makes mistakes. No, no. God, spirit, the universe, and your good teachers would say, oh, I love that you caught that and you corrected that. You're right. 8 plus 4 equals 12. You're so smart. You know how to use mathematics. It's going to serve you in this way and this way. And now you're ready for even more challenging math. What's 8 plus 5? What's 8 times 8? What's 8 divided by 2? Because you're applying the principle of mathematics, and you had to learn how to do that. So when we are learning to apply the principles of exceptional, spiritually guided living, then we may say 8 plus 4 equals 13 once or twice, but principle is not bound by precedent. So second paragraph on page 290, stop laughing. I know, I am getting to it like right now. Ernest Holmes says, in mental work, we must realize that there is one infinite mind, which is consciously directing. So through the rest of this paragraph, Ernest Holmes tells us what we can say that grounds us in the truth. Declare every day that no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none can be made. Declare there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, and guards, tells me what to do, when to act, and how to act. Having done this in perfect faith, act with perfect assurance. Declare even further everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine now. Takes me right back to the Donald Curtis quote that we are using as our guide for contemplation and reflection today. Life is a daily proposition, but it does not have to be a struggle. Life is a daily proposition, but it does not have to be a struggle. Life is a daily proposition, but it does not have to be a struggle. And when we realize and remember that there are no mistakes, only perfect action, as Ernest Holmes writes about on page 290 in The Science of Mind, wow, how liberating is that? How liberating is that? It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to say it. It's a whole nother experience to believe it and to live from it, to embody it. So I gave a talk a few days ago, and it was really about this. It was inspired by this Donald Curtis quote that I keep referring to. And the title of the talk was, "Oh God, Another Day." And I tried to say that as neutrally as I could. Oh God, another day. Because what the Donald Curtis quote and the Ernest Holmes quote makes me remember is this: I get to choose. I get to choose. When I wake up in the morning, I get to choose. Am I like, oh God, another day. Yay, let's go. Ooh, what are we going to do today? What's going to happen? What am I going to experience? It's going to be so cool. Or the other Donald Curtis quote, right? I don't know what's ahead for me today, but I know it's going to be good. Oh God, another day. I could choose that. I could reflect my embodiment of truth and faith and belief in good must happen with that. But I am a choice. And there have been periods in my life, luckily not many, and I know dozens of people who they right now are in the place of their interpretation and their expression of those 4 words, oh God, another day, might sound very different from mine. Their expression of those 4 words might sound like, oh God, another day? Oh God, another day. Oh, I don't know if I can make it. Oh my God. I gotta struggle through another day. Life is so hard. Everything is falling apart. Ah. What do you choose? How do you choose to navigate? Do you choose to navigate the day that you have, the week, the month, the life that you have from the perspective of struggle and pain and punishment, lack? Or do you choose to take the new thought teaching that you know and that you've been studying and that you've been learning and practicing? Do you choose to take that and put it in the lead and recognize that it really is up to you? Life is a proposition. How do you choose to engage with it? I'm curious about what's going to happen today because I know something good is going to happen. I'm curious and excited to dive into my day because I have been claiming in my prayers and in my spiritual treatments this new relationship that is coming. I know I'm magnetically attracting it. I may meet someone today. Oh, life, it is so good and always unfolding. And whatever happens today is preparing me for the good that is earmarked with my name on it. Do you really believe and are you applying the spiritual principle in your life? And that's what I love about this show, this weekly opportunity to go, through poetry, through prayer, and through spiritual practice, I recommit to seeing and to being my best self. By paying attention to poetry and prayer and spiritual practice every week, I get to recommit to looking at the world not through rose-colored glasses that don't allow me to see the reality of the world, but I get to look at the world through a lens of love and through a lens of faith that the world is doing the best it can, and I get to contribute to making it even better. And that what we each do contributes to that. So I guess that's really kind of all that I want to take from my thinking and drop it into your thinking over the next few days, thinking about what does the Donald Curtis quote say to you? What is its message to you? If life is a daily proposition, and it is, he says it is, life is a daily proposition, but it doesn't have to be a struggle. How do you take that up in your life? Over the next week, notice when you are choosing struggle, when you are choosing anger, pain, resentment, jealousy, when you are choosing that which makes you contract instead of that which encourages you or supports your expansion. When are you choosing struggle? When are you accepting that struggle must be the experience you are having? And then remember what Ernest Holmes wrote. There is no mistake. There never has been a mistake. There never can be a mistake. Life is constantly unfolding, expanding, expressing, evolving. And that includes your life too. And if you truly believe that, then you have the opportunity to shift your thinking and in turn shift the experience you have in your life. My name is Tracy Brown, and that's this week for Poetry, Prayer, and Practice. I hope that you will not only think about this quote, but share it with others and encourage others to join us next Tuesday at noon Mountain Time for Poetry, Prayer, and Practice.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week. Or watch on demand at www.ntmedia.org or youtube.com/New Thought Media Network. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.